I can be a very happy person. I live with shame and grief and discontent. That does not mean that I am not striving to overcome those hurdles. This is a very difficult subject to talk about. No one wants to hear about someone talking about their own self harm unless it is constructive. People don't understand what it is. Most people, anyone watching this is prepared to listen to someone talking about their difficult times in their life. And they are aware of not being overexposed to the difficulties of hearing someone else's story. I'm just talking about myself, how I survived self harm, and how, after I had gone through those difficult times, I had to live with ramifications of having doing so. It's been a difficult life for me. So to get to the point where I got to that point, I'd lived through a endless series of events, and I turned my own pain towards myself. This was exacerbated because of people making fun of me my whole life. And we all get made fun of. We all get humiliated. I was humiliated in a particular way on several, I won't say several, multiple occasions. And this is after going through serious trauma. So what I did was is I internalized my own self-hatred. I created a self-hatred or self-doubt or self-loathing. And I took everything that everyone said to me my whole life, all those disconfirming comments. And this came from everywhere. I'm not pointing anyone out here. This came from everywhere. At the same time, I had loving, beautiful people around me. That's why I am a loving, beautiful person. At the same time, I hurt myself on not several, many occasions. Not a large amount, but enough over a period of time to be a serious thing. In different ways. I hurt myself in lots of different ways. The whole time I was trying to survive. I was frightened at times. I was frightened for my life at times, not frightened because I was afraid of going too far, but frightened because of situations I'd been put in. I won't ever speak of those things, but I was frightened. Lots of people go through this. I have to live every day with the shame and grief of having gone through this myself. That does not stop me from wanting to progress. It does make it difficult. It does mean that on top of my normal triggers that affect me. I have my own triggers that I've brought upon myself. But I am I'm not going to change. It's it's everyone else that has to change. I'm going to keep being myself. If someone else out there, I'm not talking to you yourself. I'm talking to the general population, because the population of this planet has a problem with hatred and a habit of wanting, or not wanting, just doing the bidding of what is. You could call it antisocial behavior. You could call it evil. You could call it whatever you want. Most of the time, these people are not aware of what they're doing. It has become ingrained in our society. Maybe it was always there. I don't think it was always there. I think that these habits have become widespread and ingrained only because of certain systems that exist. And it's the individual that can look within inside themselves and say, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to care. So my self harm has become something that people remind me of. And I have gotten past that myself. Yet these people can't get past it themselves. And this is why I mention that it could be a factor that things never, there's an old saying, nothing, you know, nothing changes. It's all the same under the sun. Within that, there is always the opportunity to change or grow. And this comes down to the individual to actually look within themselves and to say, this person harmed themselves, and we can look past that. They're a different person now, just like I do the same for others. I don't judge others. Doesn't mean I have fear, although I try to not be fearful. I went through some very extreme traumatic experiences throughout my whole life, and I got to the point where I was self-defiling myself, and I am shameful, I am regretful, I am saddened. I have had to go through the process of understanding and moving on from this time. If you take what I just said and you reduced the severity of what I just said down to very minimal amounts, everyone has gone through this. Everyone has gone through times in their life where they have dealt with these things and they have wanted to move on. And that's what I'm doing. It's what I have been doing for a long time. I've been going through processes of forgiving people. I've been going through the difficulties of having to deal with people who are guilty and don't show remorse. I've also been dealing with people who have understood and shown compassion. The main thing is I've had to deal with myself, and I'm a friendly person. I do no harm to others, and I wish no harm to be done to me. Yet I suffer negative, and that's probably my fault. It's all my fault. I did it. I did these things to myself, and I have to suffer. What? Why do I have to suffer now when I'm trying to grow as a person. There's no need for this. I have, I do understand that people are in a position where they can't themselves deal with things. They can't. It's easier for them to react before thinking. It's a great thing to learn to be able to think before you react. By thinking, you hopefully are able to empathize with the person. Maybe you can't. You have no idea. And that's okay because you don't know everyone's story. I can't tell you my story because it is so extreme, and I don't want to tell it. What I can tell you is that there are things that I've learned along the way, and things that I've always known, and that is to give people respect, give their privacy, understand maybe what they've been going through, and care for them if if you can. But you have to care about yourself, and this is what I had to learn for myself in order to go through this process of firstly stop the self-harm and then to move on. I I have so much love for people, and I also receive so much hate from people. Why? It's because there is a big amount of guilt, and the guilt is not my own guilt. The guilt is the guilt that was dealt to me. There is a large amount of guilt by a long list of people. I've made mistakes. I have my own regrets, but what my own life has been one who has suffered, and through that suffering, I've also been given sanctuary. I have a loving family, I have food and shelter, I've always been provided for. That does not mean that I have not lived rough. I've lived rough for a long time in my life, adult life especially. I was always looked after as a child, even though my childhood was very traumatic. In my adult life, I had to live on basics for a long time, and I worked, and because I was living through trauma, I never was able to save money. I was never able to live a happy life and travel, start a family, have relationships. And that working life was very difficult for most of the time. When you're at the bottom of the rung, bottom of the ladder, or well, I don't know what's the saying, when all your jobs are meaningless yet meaningful to the collective. They need you, but you don't mean anything to them. That eats away at you, especially when you don't make enough money to do the things you want to do in life. And because part of my self harm was substance abuse, drinking alcohol mostly, not to excess, but enough to be a thing, it kept me in a state where I was always apathetic about everything, yet I still was positive. I was apathetic about my own internal life, yet I was positive towards everything around me and optimistic about things. And I would try to be optimistic towards others. So I have a lot of shame and a lot of pain for what I did to myself, but that's not now. I don't need to be reminded of this now. I'm a different person now. I am not what I was. I am in the present. But the problem is my present is also my past because I'm being brought back to the past by others. And that's not fair, especially considering I'm doing everything I can to move forward. All it does, and this is what, and again, the trauma did this to me for so many years. It kept me in a place, kept me stuck. One of the things that kept me going was I was always trying to learn and trying to do new things and trying to grow as a person. Even though I was living through my own pain and my own personal hell. And I did not choose to go there. I was not sent there. It was what was imposed on me. So while I'm trying to live and grow, throughout this whole time, I didn't change being a happy person, a friendly person, an open person. That made me vulnerable because I would be subject to people taking advantage of me. So I got stuck in being this person that was going through troubles, living through turmoil, always trying to please people. And then I would turn all the negativity inwards towards myself. I would get to this point in my life where I wish never happens or never happened. Sorry. It's gone now. It's in the past. I'm a different person. This is long ago. Yet I'm still living with it now. And I'm I don't I really don't think that I've ever hurt many people in my life. Everyone goes through a process where they have had hurt someone somehow. We can't escape that. And I think that my conscience is pretty much clear. I don't have my own conscience, and my own guilt and shame is all for what I've done to myself. And even though I am past that, I'm a different person. People bring me back to that. Why? I don't understand. Can't they move on? Isn't there something else to think about? Can't someone look at me and see someone who has recovered rather than someone who is broken? I've got so much to give, and I still have a, a life to live, and I want to live that life. And people that know me, that really know I'm a genuine person. I don't I don't do wrong. And if I do, I'm sorry, but it's not me making that mistake. And if I do, I apologize. I'm constantly apologizing for things that I've got nothing to be sorry for. You know, I'm moving on. I'm moving forward. I'm living in the present. My present is not easy because I'm being reminded of my past. And my past is essentially hurting myself. The people that don't see that as their own problem, maybe they can never see that as their own problem. And they will keep doing it. And I have to live with this my whole life. Maybe people can move on. Can they? Can people move on? Can people look at their own life and their own self and see what they need to do themselves and look at others and empathize? Because I'm sure that people that make fun of me or hurt me haven't gone through any of the stuff that I've gone through. Can they see that? I would like to think that they can somehow. Thank you for all listening or being here or whatever. Like, this is very difficult for me to talk about this stuff, but I had to talk about it. I really did. And I appreciate all the love and support I get in this world, and all the people around me that help me to be myself and don't attack me. I really appreciate all the loving people in this world.